My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is an artist, photographer, and advertising creative. Within this episode, we talk about their work, poetry, and motion, and with that, we discuss Afrofuturism and surrealism. We talk a lot about family dynamics, the expectations of motherhood, and the nuances of parenting. So if you know, I'm not really into astrological signs, but throughout this episode, my guest also drops little nuggets about certain astrological signs and some of their traits. This episode has a lot to offer. This guest is amazing and talented and very confident in who they are and the ways that they curate joy. You are definitely going to enjoy this episode.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying, transmitting, color voices, yeah, we here making noise, making noise, visibility equals possibility. Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a non-binary trans mask artist, photographer, and advertising creative with a background in Black feminist theory, gender studies, and pedagogy. Through poetry and motion, their art centers Afrofuturism, surrealism, and the radical beauty of joy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Sean. Very, very excited to be here on the Dem Bois Podcast. Very stoked to be here.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you. I can't wait to dive into everything that you are. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks to know who you are, name and pronouns?
Of course. My name is Sunny. My full first name is Sonata, but most people call me Sunny, either or, perfectly fine. I go by they, them, and I go by he, him pronouns as well. I just forgot to put that in there, but that's perfectly fine. I am, just like Sean said, a digital artist, creative, thinker, lover boy, trans mask boy, a whole bunch of things under the sun that all make me who I am. But yeah, very excited to be here today.
Yes.
And I'm hailing from Greenville, South Carolina. I'm not from here. I'm actually originally from Jersey, but have lived in the South like pretty much all of my adult life.
Okay. And so what took you to the South Carolina?
So when I was a teenager, I wanted to get out of New Jersey, not because I don't like where I'm from, but just a lot of family traumas, especially with my mother and stuff. I was just like bumping heads on so many things and just different kind of traumas that I had with my family and just not feeling like myself there. I wasn't out yet, even when I was like in high school and stuff, not with my sexuality or like my gender identity. I really had no space to kind of figure out who I was there, like around certain family members that I was around. So when I was applying for colleges, one day I got something in the mail from Florida, from the University of South Florida in Tampa. And I was like, you know what? That would be great. And then I looked at the price of tuition in like New York and New Jersey, and it was pretty much the same as like going out of state. So I was like, F it, I'm going to Florida. And I did not tour the school. I literally just jumped in my dad's car. My dad's from North Carolina. My dad drove up to come get me. He dropped me off at school, and then I was going to school in Florida. So that's how I got out of Jersey.
Okay. You was like, I don't care how I'm getting here. just get me the hell up out of here.
Yep, exactly.
Right. So how is your relationship with your mother now?
Me and her are actually no contact right now because it's actually so silly, but it's really for two reasons. It's a culmination of things. As I've just gotten older and I've continued going to therapy and I've talked to my community and also in meeting chosen family and learning love through chosen family, I realized that, I realized a lot of things. I realized one, I was able to empathize with my mother more, especially with my educational background. One pivotal class that I took was the politics of motherhood, which really, really helped me unpack so many things, and just the concept of parents and motherhood and mothering and the idea of a perfect mom and the historical context of that and how that idea has been weaponized against Black people specifically, and how systemically in society and culturally and socially that impacts people. So I was able to empathize with my mom more. However, also realizing that she never really loved me and that she never really could love me because of her own traumas, because of postpartum and her never really getting help with that, never really seeing that as an issue for her and stuff. It's just like the culmination of me figuring out things about our relationship. And then when I came out as trans and non-binary and told my mother about it, one of the first things she said was, you'll always be my little girl. And I was just like, yeah, like you just ignored everything that I said to you.
You don't get
and,
it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't get it at all. You're not trying to get it at all. And we got into an argument about Dave Chappelle when all that stuff came out about him at first. And I was just explaining to her how she was basically like saying transphobic crap. And I was just like, I'm trans. People I love are trans. There's people around the world who are trans, and you're not going to say stuff like that to me or anyone. And it wasn't even just about me. It was just about like, if this is how you view me and I'm your child, then how are you going to treat people who are not related to you who are trans? And I was like, until you apologize to me, we have nothing to talk about. She told me she was never apologizing to me or anyone, and I haven't talked to her since. It's been years. Yeah.
So how have you reconciled that? You're right, because as a child, because you know what, those words that you said that you always gonna be my baby girl, that's exactly what my dad told me. And you know what? I ain't talked to him in about 13 years. And it is what it is. It was a grieving process, of course, right? Because you, as a child, you even as an adult, you still want that level of love that you expect for a parent to give. But how have you been able to kind of like reconcile with that?
Lots of therapy. I think the kind of course, oddly enough, the kind of courses that I chose to take in my master's program and stuff like have helped me unpack a lot of things. Also putting myself out there more with chosen family and making more efforts to connect with chosen family. Chosen family has saved my life throughout my life, even when I was a child and I didn't really understand. I always had chosen family, that helped me reconcile with that. People that I can talk to, people who have similar experiences too in our community that I can talk to about this. And I'm also very, very lucky to have my grandmother who I have a very, very close relationship with. And it's crazy because when I was younger, she's still a Christian woman and stuff. But when I was younger, she was like deep, deep, deep into church. And even now, my grandma is like a literal deaconess. One of my biggest fans. She loves me so much, and she's 80, and she definitely doesn't understand all the terminologies and stuff. And I could tell that she doesn't. But her response is always just like, this is exactly the way God made you. You're exactly the way that you're supposed to be. And all that matters is that you're a good person. And I love you. And I loved you before you were even born. Like having a person like that in my life, in addition to my chosen community, has absolutely been a game changer for me. Because when that first happened with my mother and when we first fell out, she sent me a long, long text message, basically writing out all the things that she's ever done for me, which was not a lot of things. And she was basically just like throwing all of that in my face. And I was just like, these are things that you were supposed to do as a parent. So like, you're not going to make me feel bad about that. But yeah, I would definitely say, going to therapy, just educating myself, having chosen family, and also, having a sprinkle of people from my blood family who do support me has absolutely been a game changer for me.
Is your mother in a relationship?
She used to be. My mother's an Aquarius. I feel like that's another thing. I feel like anybody who's watching, if you have Aquarius parents, we all deserve to be compensated. No, she is not in a relationship. But when I was a child, she was in relationships. And it's actually really funny because throughout my whole childhood, she was queer. She was dating women. And I remember... Yes. Right. Yeah.
The kettle calling. That's saying. Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember she came out to me when I was a child. I remember I was like, so I was like, that's it? She's like, yeah, like I'm gay. I was like, okay. And went about my business. I think I was like 11. So the fact that roles reversed, like you couldn't do the same for me is kind of like crazy. But I watched her date like a lot of women, and I've routinely felt throughout my childhood that she was choosing her relationships over me. So when I was younger, absolutely.
You know what that makes me think of? And so my mother, I had a rocky relationship with my mother. I hated my mom my whole life. I didn't love her actually until I was in my 30s, and I could recognize and say, okay, this is the lady that gave birth to me. Okay, I love her, right? But this idea that they're raising children, and so to know that she is queer, or was queer, or however she, moves around the world at this moment because we haven't talked to her. It's a lot of shit that she ain't worked through. And so she got some shit that she need to work through that she maybe somebody told her and then she projected that onto her child. Or maybe, I don't know. I can't, I don't know your mother, right? And I'm not a therapist and none of these things, right? But like these conversations to work through of like, am I putting that off on my child because I hate who the fuck I am because of what somebody told me?
Yep.
It's like, be honest as a parent. I'm a parent. My son is 29 now. I've always tried to be honest. If he asks me something, I'm going to be honest, right? I don't got all the fucking answers. I didn't even know there was a politics of motherhood class. Like that right there is brilliant. I always say parenthood don't have a damn book, handbook. It don't, but there's a politics of motherhood course that you can that you can take at a college. Right. But it's like, be honest with yourself and be honest with your child. Right. And it would be a much better relationship. We can work through some shit. I'm growing, you growing. Hey, let's just work through this shit. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That is wild to me.
Yeah. Even though you don't know her, you were on the money. Honestly, like, yeah, lots of issues there, lots of maternal issues between her and my grandmother. So you would be able to guess that it's very awkward because I'm very close with my grandma and they've always had tensions. Even when I was a child, I had to learn, even as a kid, how to be like Switzerland and just be like, I'm not in y'all stuff because I wasn't there. Like at the end of the day, this is like stuff that predates me. And yeah, it's very much so like she has not worked through her shit, and very much so me being used as her therapist, even though I was a child.
So for folks listening and our parents, work through your shit, get your shit together, and don't take that out on these kids. So we don't have to be on these shows and these podcasts and paying therapists, spending our money on a therapist. We got to work through some shit that you created. Come on. We need parents to do better. That's And I, there are pieces of me. My mom has gotten a lot better though, actually, which has surprised me. She has gotten better, but my grandmother's kind of like her grandmother. Like she don't understand everything, but she tells me she loves me and I'm her favorite. So if any of my cousins that are listening, grandma said I'm her favorite, and so that's it. But
a lot of currency there, being grandma's favorite.
Oh yeah. For sure. I definitely knew how to play them cards as a child. But there is a grieving process in it, right? There was years that I didn't talk to my mom either. Didn't know how she was doing, didn't know how she was, didn't know if she was alive. My father, I don't know if that man is alive. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, you brought me into this world and asked to be here, and the decisions that you made, people always say, oh, you only got one mother. You only got one father. Well, yeah, they only got one me too. Right. I'm just as priceless as they are, and say that they should honor that as the person who didn't ask to be here, that they conceived, and now I'm here. Right. So
I agree. 1,000%. And like you said, children don't ask to be here. And, and especially just like moving to Greenville where I live now, it's very, very family oriented here, like in a cishet way, which has definitely been a big culture shock to me because I lived in Atlanta for like 4 years, and I moved from there to here. And I'm just like, ooh, we still in the South, but this is different. Like this is so, So just seeing, like that emphasis on like family and parenting and stuff, but also like seeing with my own eyes how many people have kids but don't know the first thing about raising them, don't know the first thing about just like, how do you how are you a person with this little person that you're raising? How do you level with them? Because to me, especially like from my experience, I don't have any kids, but from my experience, I was a child once. I'm just like, even with my nephews, I'm like, I'm very uncomfortable in like super authoritative, like kind of, I don't like dealing with my nephews that way. That's just me. I'm not yucking anybody's like yum or anything. But for me, like, I just have realized like how uncomfortable I've kind of been with that like power dynamic, even with children. And just seeing here like how much people like have kids and are like, yeah, you're supposed to have kids, you're supposed to be married, but then I see like how miserable people are and stuff, and it's just like it makes me think about like my mom and how like maybe a part of it is too like you weren't ready to have a kid, at all, but you felt guilted by society into having one anyway. And here are the emotional repercussions of it down the line.
It's so layered. It's so layered because I just recently saw a post on Instagram. It was a video. It was a guy. He was recording his journey with his mother. His mother was never in his life. He was adopted. And instead, he's adult, obviously, and they were sitting at dinner, and the mama was just eating her food like, it is what it is. I don't give a fuck what you talking about. But when it was her turn to talk, if I can find this video, I'll try to link it in our show notes. But she was honest. She said, I didn't want you. I still don't want you. And he was just crying, just uncontrollably, right? Of that truth of like my mama telling me, you know, she didn't want me, never wanted me. And she was like, you did good. I put you in a good place. You was raised in a good home. Stop worrying about me because I don't want to be in your life. That honesty, but also not realizing, yes, you probably had this child because you didn't want to have an abortion or whatever the case, right? It's so many layers to this. And now you have created this person that is now going to create another person or is going to affect other people because of the trauma that you posed on their lives. And people, you know, don't take it seriously. So like if you have a child, consciously have a child, whether you want a child or not, right? If you plan for it or not, but you know how your parent treated you. Why would you in return do the exact same shit? I don't understand that.
Yep. That's why folks need to go to therapy so we can break those cycles. You have to.
Right. And there is an episode in season 1 I was telling you before we started recording where I talk about my journey. And there was an episode in the beginning, I can't remember what number it is, but I'll make sure to plug it in the show notes. Episode where I talked about raising my son and making sure that I did not repeat those same exact things that my mother did to me. Right. I don't want my son to say he hate me. I don't want my son to be on the comfy couch because something I said to him, right, when I was in my anger or if I didn't know how to express myself and I took that shit on him because I had a bad day at work. Right. No, I woke up every day being very intentional with my words. If I didn't have nothing, like I was taught, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. I never talked about things like his physical attribute. I never said anything negative. Even if he said, look, Dad, look at this. And I'm like, ooh, that is a fucking mess. I'm not going to say that, right? Because those words just, it sticks, right? So I was very careful with what I said. I'm saying, oh, are you proud of that, son? Oh, yeah. Okay, well, good. I'm proud of it too, right? You have to find ways to raise children to be better adults than our parents were to us. And that's just it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I completely agree. And it takes energy, it takes work. And I feel like a lot of people just don't want to do the work, but you have to. Life is work, not in a capitalistic way. It doesn't have to be like that, but life is work, as in working on yourself, working on being better, working on understanding people more, just working on being a better version of yourself.
Yes, a better fucking human being.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The Visibility Equals Possibility collection has new designs and a new designer, me. My name is Zion, pronouns he, him, his, and I was on episode 53 if you want to go back and check that out. But I am the second trans man of color to design for the Visibility Equals Possibility collection. Dem Bois believes visibility equals possibility, and so do I. I am honored to take part in this groundbreaking collection and look forward to seeing what else the collection has in store. My designs represent having confidence and courage to be bold with your visibility. The design, in my mind, says, take the caution you need, but I am here. I hope you all enjoy the designs, and be sure to purchase some designs from me or Emilio to support gender affirming programs by Dem Bois.
Find the amazing designs of the Visibility Equals Possibility collection and other merch items that I've designed on the Dem Bois shop at dembois.org. That's DEMBOI as in igloo s.org. And remember, visibility equals possibility.
So the name Sunny, how did that name choose you?
So it's actually funny. It's a family name that I hated when I was a child. I have these like memories of like people in my class like making fun of me and being like Sunny, Sunny, and me just getting like really upset. My Aries Mars coming out real bad. It just being like, stop calling me that. I really don't remember why I didn't like it, because like now that I'm older, I really love that as my nickname. I love my name too. I'm definitely fortunate with that. That's one thing I say. That's the best thing my mom ever did for me is give me my name. I love my name. But yeah, Sunny is like a family nickname that my family members would just call me, especially like my grandmother. Sometimes my grandmother even calls me like son. And I don't know, I just love it because it just reminds me of the sun. And the sun is the center of our universe. The sun is big and vibrant. And yeah, I think that's how that name like makes me feel. So that's how I arrived there. Now as an adult, I just use it as a default.
And so when we talk about gender journey, and so, you know, you in a household, you had a queer identifying mother. And so when was it a part in your life, or do you remember a moment of awakening within yourself of your gender and your sexuality, gender, however you want to spin it? And how did that create who you are today?
Definitely. That's an excellent question. I remember when I was probably like 6, 7. I might have even been younger than that. I remember my mom and I were living with my great aunt because we grew up like pretty poor. So me and my mom like slept in the same bed in the same room like up until I went to high school, like literally. And I had a moment where I was looking in the mirror and I was just like looking at my body, and I was like literally a child. I was like, I'm not a girl. Like I'm definitely not a girl. I like stuff that is like considered boy stuff, but I don't feel like I'm a boy. But I was just like, what am I then? I didn't have any language, but even me asking myself that as a child, I knew back then that I was non-binary or trans and like on the gender spectrum. And just like the older I got, the more I started to like just play with what I was wearing. I was always considered a tomboy. Whenever we would go to like McDonald's or something, I would tell my mom to get me the boy toy. Like I was like that kind of kid and stuff. I played a lot of sports, was super into like video games and drawing and anime and stuff. So I would say that around when I was probably like 7, 8 is when I definitely had like my first kind of awakening, like, like my positionality is different from my peers, like from the way that I was presenting. And then I remember my first crush was a girl that was like my best friend. And it wasn't until like I got older that I realized that I liked her. Like I liked her. But when I was younger, I think I was in like 5th grade, we would hang out all the time. And like I would go to her house. Her mom like really liked me and stuff like that. And I remember, but her mom was like super strict. So whenever we wanted like food, like I would be the one to like go and like get us food. I would like go to Burger King and I would like pay for it, like bring it back. Or I would just like do random things for her. I was like literally in the 5th grade. And then I got older and I was like, you liked her. Like the whole time you liked her and stuff. And I always knew, I think I really, really always knew, but of course, being a child and, being in the face of agents of socialization, that made it hard for me to continue to explore that. I stopped exploring that for a long time in my life, actually, even like starting with my childhood, because I always knew that I was different. But as I got older and just started getting like corrected by whether it be my peers or my own family, then I started to kind of just like closet myself.
So who was the first person that you told?
about being queer, because I first came out as a lesbian, which I feel like so many trans people, T-boys be on that pipeline. And shout out to lesbians, because y'all helped me arrive here, you know. And so I definitely, at first I came out as a lesbian, but I was still like femme presenting and stuff. And I think that was my freshman year of college. Yeah. So like, it took me a long time. It really took me being out of New Jersey. Then like I came out and stuff. And I don't even feel like it, I feel like I could have told my friends that I went to school with in high school, but for whatever reason, I just didn't. And I do remember though, one time in homeroom in high school, like my senior year of high school, one of my friends, and I'm still friends with her too to this day. I was just talking to her yesterday. One of her exes literally came up to me and was like, "Sonny, you gay?"
Damn.
Right.
Just like that.
I was like, "What you talking about?" And he was like, "Well, I'll never see you with no guys or nothing, and you'll never be talking about no guys." So, and I was like, "What?" And then he just like went about his business. When I think about him, I just be like, he really clocked me. He really clocked me even back then. And this was like a cishet, like teen black boy, like just a silly teen boy. I'm like, he was able to like really clock me like that. But that also makes me think about how he saw me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like when you're not getting clocked in like a bad way, at least a way that's like, you know, potentially violent or like harmful and stuff, getting clocked by someone who is like, you know, cares about you, you know, or just like accepts you is another form of being seen in a way. I don't know. That's how I think about that specific instance for me. So he was the first person who kind of like knew that I was queer, even though I didn't come out to him. I first came out as a lesbian in college, and then I came out as non-binary and trans like during my master's program. Actually doing my master's program really helped to push me to start to openly identify as non-binary and trans.
So I want to ask you first, though, because when folks say non-binary, it means something different to everybody, right? Just like with my own trans identity, I say transmasc, but some folks may not resonate with that title of being transmasc, right? So it's like, so what does non-binary mean specifically for you?
For me, non-binary is a closeness to the universe, a closeness to the natural frequency of the universe, a closeness to the natural meaning of like a soul. I feel like non-binary people and trans people in general are just proof that souls, we are souls. Before all this stuff that is like attached to people or whatever, like we are souls who are little balls of energy, who have connections to everything and everyone around us. So that's a overarching like what non-binary means for me. And like on a more granular level, it just means that I don't ascribe to the gender binary. I don't identify as a woman or a man. I just identify as a person. I'm just me. And because, you know, a part of these structures, at least in our society, or these like our identities are also kind of like intertwined with these different scripts that we're expected to abide by. And for me, being non-binary also means that like I don't have to ascribe to any scripts as well. You know, none of us have to,
right.
But that's a key part of being non-binary to me, just being a human, just being a person. I remember I was at my nephew's birthday party one time, and one of his little friends was like, "Excuse me," this boy had to be like 4 or something. He was like, "Are you a man or a woman?" I was like, "I'm a person." He was like, "I'm going to ask you again. Are you a man or a woman?" "I'm a person." He asked me like 30 times. And I was just like, "I'm a person." He was like, "No, like, look at me. Like, I'm a man." I was like, "You're a child. You're not a man. Like, what are you talking about?" Like, and I immediately just knew like where all that stuff was coming from. But I was just like, I'm a person. And that's what non-binary means to me.
But that level of curiosity, even as a child, that just goes to show that we have this idea of what gender is to us internally, or what it, the questions, who knows what that child will become when they get older. But that was like, oh, this is just me just pulling shit out of my ass, right? But it's like, oh, that person, I can resonate with that person's energy. That could be me. You know what I'm saying? And so hence the questions and curiosity around it, right? Because just like you saying, you remember earlier than 6, right? And so we have these moments in our life where like, oh, that looks familiar, or that energy feels familiar to me. I'm drawn to that. So I just got to ask them questions because I want to know. But then also kids are blunt as fuck. They will ask you whatever the fuck comes to their damn mind.
They're off the chain.
Yeah.
I remember one time I used the men's bathroom with my like me and my nephews and my brother were like at some restaurant. I used like the bathroom, but they were all like in line for some bathroom. I was like, I'm just gonna go to the guys or whatever. I went and washed my hands. One of my nephews was like, "Are you a boy?" And I was like, well, no, but I'm just using
a bathroom. Why do bathrooms have to be fucking gendered? Bathrooms has everything in common: a toilet seat and a sink. Hopefully a sink, because I've seen some with no sinks. But that's beside the point. We all got to do the same thing. We piss, we shit, and please wash your hands, right? Like, why does it have to be you go there and I go there, and then you can't come over here and we looking in the mirror, we getting something out of our teeth, we fixing our chapstick, lip gloss, whatever the fuck it is, right? Fixing our hair, fixing our outfit, tucking in your shirt or not. Seeing if you got something on your clothes. Like, what the fuck is the big deal about a fucking bathroom? Just do what we all go do, and just go and do it and come the fuck out. Because I got to go.
Exactly. That's another reason why I love New York, because New York is a place I can always count on having gender neutral bathrooms. Here in South Carolina, barely existing unless I happen to be going to a queer friendly place. Like there's a burger spot here. All their bathrooms are just like any gender, but other places, it's hard here with that for sure.
I can imagine. I'm in the Bay Area, so there's gender neutral restrooms everywhere. So that's something that I've kind of gotten accustomed to. But even just like at an airport, it's a bathroom and just say all. I literally witnessed people not wanting to go in it. Even it says all. You do not know that that's the best bathroom, actually, because I also don't understand is why do we have bathrooms with like gaps of like 2 inches? So when I'm using the bathroom, you can see what the fuck I'm doing. Why we can't have floor to wall doors where you in your own little thing, you close the door, you lock it, and you do your business, and you come out and can't nobody look through the crack to see what you're doing, right? But some of those bathrooms, just like I'm gonna just say SFO. They have bathrooms that say all, but those are the best ones because they literally have your own little cubby hole of a bathroom where nobody can see you, can't see under the stall, you can't see in between the cracks. You just go in there and use the bathroom like you're supposed to do. And then it's just a communal sink. Like that's how I feel bathrooms should be. Just go do your business and come out.
I agree, because who cares? But it's because of the weirdo cishet men and also people in their transphobia and just being problematic and just trying to control everything except themselves. I feel like everybody who engages with or embodies and believes in and ascribes to all of the isms and phobias and stuff, I'm just like, y'all have control issues. Control yourself. Leave other people alone.
Control yourself in all facets of control. I think to me, it's the perversion of cishet men.
Yes, absolutely.
And that just affects us all because they think that everybody's brain is wired that way. Because you nasty don't mean I'm nasty.
Right.
I never really said that out loud, but that's what I believe. It's like people want to put some shit up on you that ain't got nothing to do with you. You know what I mean?
Because that's what people, that's their main reason. Whenever those crusaders bring it up, they're like, well, what if men go into the women's bathroom? Just like,
they're gonna pee.
Also, like, what does that have to do with trans women?
Right.
What does that have to do with trans men?
Right. Exactly.
That's why I'm like, that's also like why I did my thesis on what I did it on. Cause I'm like, I need to look at the data. I need to look at what it says. And the data says, for everybody watching, everybody watching already knows this, but the data literally says that it is cishet people who are committing crimes against people in bathrooms. It is not the other way around. It's never that. It's always cis people causing harm to trans people in bathrooms.
This is also a topic that's very layered, right? Because it's to promote fear and hate and all of these things that ain't got shit to do with the subject at hand.
Nope.
When we all need to look inward, for one. And also, it's the people uncomfortable with learning about folks that they don't understand. How hard is it to ask questions? How hard is it to be just like that little child asking you questions? How hard is it to be curious and get to know what you're actually talking about before you spitting out all this misinformation about things?
Exactly.
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I am the producer for Dem Bois Podcast, and I am so excited to tell you about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com.
So you talked about your father picking you up and driving you to college. Is your father still with us?
Yeah, my father lives in North Carolina.
Okay. How is your relationship with your father?
My father, cool. I always say, and if he ever sees this, he's going to be like, I always say that he is like a cool guy to like, my dad is a Sagittarius. And for context, I'm a Gemini. So we're sister signs, which is funny. So I didn't meet my dad until I was 11 or 12, actually. Yeah, both of my parents were in the military. They met that way. My dad was still married. Like, this is like a literal typical Sagittarius man story. It's ridiculous. My dad was literally still married to my stepmom, who he is still married to this day, and who is also a Sagittarius. And while they were separated, him and my mom met, blah, 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 had me and stuff. But there's a lot of murkiness. When I ask my mom, she says one thing. When I ask my dad, he says one thing. I believe my mom's side of the story, really, because my dad is like a super Christian guy. I feel like he'd be trying to save face for all the stuff that he has done throughout his life. Because he like now he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he just like listens to church music, and I'd be like, I still see you. But
you can't hide from me.
But it's okay. Me and him are cool. Like, I can have like conversations like with him about stuff. But I like about like education, like we're very like aligned there. Like we both like value like education and people just being like students of the universe and wanting to like learn from other people and learn from like history, literature, what have you. We align on that a lot. We can talk all day about that. But when it comes to like social, cultural stuff, we don't align on. But he's different from my mom, where he just won't go there with me. We just don't talk about that kind of stuff. Like, he just doesn't go there with me. He treads like very lightly with that. And we just don't. And I honestly haven't really even talked to him about my transness and stuff like yet, because I don't see him that often and stuff. But I recently had a conversation with my younger sister on all my siblings are on my dad's side, another Sagittarius man thing. I recently talked to my like little sister about this. She told me, she was like, I don't think you should talk to him about that. She was like, I think that you're going to be like very disappointed by what him and like my stepmom say and stuff. Which of course hear that. And my sister she grew up with my father in a way that I didn't. So like, you know, I definitely take heed to her like advice. I'm still going to have like a conversation with him. Me and him are cool, but I haven't had a conversation with him about my transness yet. So we'll see how that goes, because that's probably going to dictate whether or not I still like talk to him. But he likes my stuff on Instagram, and I had like a post about like being on T, and he like liked it. I don't know if he knows what being on T means, but like, but we'll find out. So I'll have to check back with you on that. But
Okay.
for now, me and him are cool.
Okay. So how strongly do you believe in what your sister is saying?
I believe her because she has a different kind of relationship with them. Because of like my personality, and I think because of how like hyper independent I've been in my life, like leaving home at 18 and stuff like that. Like, whereas like most of my siblings have like lived with their parents for like a longer like time and stuff, or even my dad, I didn't do that. I have always been very, even when I was younger, like my dad, there was certain stuff like my dad tried to tell me about. I'm like, you can't tell me shit because you didn't raise me. Like, you can't tell me shit. And even that lady who raised me can't tell me shit about this. So what now? My mom used to always tell me like, I think your dad is afraid of you, which I don't think it's like fear. I think he just like respects me and is kind of like thrown off by how much he respects me because he's a cishet Black man and I'm me. And I can tell that he really respects me. But yeah.
So knowing that your sister may be right, are you, even though you're going to tell them, because then it gets to a point, because if you say you start a tea, there's going to get to a point where regardless if you tell them or not, some things will be visibly change, right? And so do you wait for that moment, or are you in the point of, I'm just going, not me, but you, lowering your expectations?
Yeah, definitely lowering my expectations. I've been on tea for, I think like 7-8 months now. So I'm already like, the way that I look and sound now is drastically different from when I started tea, like in August. In August of last year. Like literally today at work, I was a part of this video that we did about just like, the kind of culture that we're creating like here and stuff like that. And I'm in the video and I'm like, damn, I sound and look so different. Like my face shape is like different. My voice is like different. So I feel like, and I have facial, you can't really see it now, but I have like facial hair and stuff. My muscle mass is like a lot like bigger and stuff. So I feel like he already like probably like sees, and I already have some of the different, permanent changes, that I'm going to have and stuff. So at this point, I think it's just for myself. And it's not even about him and his response. And I think like going to therapy and being in therapy, like really helped me to get over that, because that is something that I definitely have struggled with like my whole life. Like that kind of like rejection sensitivity and just like being afraid of what they're going to say and being afraid of like, and internalizing, whatever they say and stuff. And I have just gotten to the point, and I'm also fortunate because I have community too. I feel like if I didn't have community, it would be like way tougher for me, which is very understandable for anyone in that situation. But at this point in my life, like this is like my truth. This is never changing about me. Like I'm always going to be trans. This is who I am. And if you are going to be like in my life, especially after going through that stuff with my mom, I'm at the point where it's like, if you're going to be in my life, you need to be very accepting of this. Or if you're not, you need to let me know so I know where to place you, or if I need to remove you from my life completely. For me.
And that's it. So what kind of advice would you have for folks that are listening who are in this particular situation that you're in, but they want their parents to accept who they are? But you was like, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. I'm moving the fuck on. What type of advice would you give to folks to kind of like navigate that space?
Yeah, I definitely recommend one, doing a lot of self-work, spending a lot of time with yourself, because a lot of what we seek from other people, we can really provide ourselves. And that's going to help you like really understand and interrogate what you actually like want from your parents. And if it's something that they can actually give you, that is a really, really important part of the process, I feel, because if you don't get to that point of understanding it, like you're just going to constantly go like in a circle, in a loop. You're going to be in a hellscape and constantly expecting that from them. And I also believe, like, to me, I feel like it also impacts like your other relationships. In unpacking my maternal wounds, I have been able to really unpack how I've navigated romantic relationships, because the first person in my life who was supposed to love me, never did. And I was always doing all of these things, like trying to be hyper vigilant, trying to make myself small, trying to do stuff for my mom to make her like me. I realized that even in my romantic relationships with people, I was doing that with people I was dating. I was sacrificing my wants and my needs and like what I want to do just to make sure that they still like love me and like care about me. And I had to really unpack that. I had to really like sit with that and sit with how problematic like that is and stuff. So one of my first like pieces of advice to people is to definitely like sit with yourself and learn about yourself. This is you. This is your body. Like, love it. Love the time that you have here on this earth. None of us know how long like we're here. So we all need to be spending as much time as we can getting to know ourselves and really, really loving ourselves and dedicating ourselves to just accepting us. Because once you really accept you, what the hell them other people got to say, even if they're your mother, your father, your best friend, whatever, it's not going to fucking matter. Because once you have that like sense of self that like nobody can move, what the other people say is it's not even going to affect you like the same way. And how to arrive there is learning what you like, doing what you like that. I was talking to my therapist about how that helps you literally create new neural pathways in your brain. Like it literally, like you create a new life for yourself. And as queer people, we are owed, or as queer and trans people specifically, we are owed that. We are owed that by this life. Like we deserve to live life to the fullest. We deserve to experience love to the fullest. So I think that it starts with that. And I think it also starts with giving your energy to the people who have always shown up for you, who do love you, and unpacking even just like bioessentialism, because that's even like why the idea of family blood is so like, important. And that when you look at history, that's because of, families wanting to combine power and like all this shit. That is so irrelevant to trans people. Like we don't have to ascribe to any of that shit. Like we don't have to. There's people I've met that I have not been related to. Like my best friend is like one of my soulmates. Like they are an amazing, amazing person who just like gets me on like a cerebral level, who knows me to my core in a way that like most of my family don't. And it's just like, that's a person that I met in New York. Not blood related, but like related by spirit. And that is like so much more powerful than being related by blood to someone who don't even accept you. Yeah.
You're so right. And I also believe in multiple soulmates in our lives, and not just romantically, right? Friends that are soulmates, pets that are soulmates. So absolutely. The moral of the story is get yourself together and then go find your people.
Yep.
Man.
Exactly. Yep.
So
that has helped me so much. Man. Really, like I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't do that work. And I will definitely admit a big thing that has helped me to always do that work is my art. Art always has you unpacking shit. Always has you asking questions.
Man. And that's what I was just about to ask you about. So I wanted to talk about poetry in motion. And so your art centers Afrofuturism, surrealism, and radical beauty of joy. And so first, before I ask you about poetry in motion, I want to kind of like unpack some of these words, because folks listening like, what is Afrofuturism? What's surrealism, right? You want to kind of give folks kind of a background of what those two things are so they can kind of get an understanding of your work.
Yeah, absolutely. So Afrofuturism is like literally like exactly how it sounds. It's like the combination of Black cultures and Black histories and like merging it with these kind of like sci-fi kind of celestial energies and visuals and stuff like that. And surrealism, which more people are probably familiar with, is going to be like one person that everybody knows about is like Salvador Dali. That's a surrealist artist. And that's really just taking things that don't belong in certain places and putting them there anyway, which is kind of funny that those are like the two mediums that I use, especially being a trans artist. So, because they're like trans, now that I'm thinking about it, but those are like the definitions of the two.
And so Afrofuturism, I'm going to go back to SFO, San Francisco International Airport. They actually have an exhibit there for Afrofuturism that I've seen. And so that was kind of opening my eyes, like, oh, like, you know a term, but then I'm a visual learner. So you know a term, but then until you see it, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes so much more sense to me. So there is an exhibit there that's current. I think it's still currently there. I'm not sure, but so that's how I learned about it. And so I want to know, kind of like poetry in motion, you want to tell folks, like, what is that?
Yeah, so poetry is actually my first art medium that I call it like my, you know how they like call weed like a gateway drug? I call, even though I don't think that's true, because if you go do whatever, but writing for me was like my gateway, like art form. And when I was a child, especially growing up like in Jersey with a single mom, growing up poor, like I was on the internet heavy, like on Tumblr and like all this stuff, because that was the only way I was like really seeing anything, and it wasn't until I got older that I started like going to New York and stuff like that. And even that is still like the tri-state area, that's not really getting out and like seeing things that are different from the area that I'm from. But yeah, like that was my first art medium. So I started off as a child, like with writing like poetry and writing like short stories and stuff like that. And nobody in my family really like encouraged me to continue doing that. The first person that ever encouraged me was my fourth grade teacher, Miss Nasser, bless her heart. A super sweet Lebanese woman who like saw me like writing and would literally like let me present in front of my classmates. And that was everything for me, and just life-changing, honestly. But yeah, so going from like writing, and the more that I wrote and wrote and wrote, the more like I learned about things, because the more I was writing and the more I was learning how to write, the more I was reading. Like I was reading literature, I was reading all these like different ways to like write and stuff like that. And as I got older, I got into anime, so I started drawing and stuff. And then when I got to college, I picked up a camera and I started doing photography. I was just like messing with all these different like art mediums. So that's one reason like why I use the term poetry in motion. And I also use poetry in motion for my photography and videography and my artwork in general, because of the interactions that people are having in my work. I like to show just like the beauty of living and existing, and like the beauty of just like a person sitting under ambient light outside, a Black trans queer person just existing, and like how that, even though it's just a static like image, a still image, how you can still see that even though it's not video. So that's what poetry like in motion means to me, just kind of like the romantic science of visualizing radical joy.
I love that. So for folks, first I want to say, because I'm looking at your Instagram page, and so for folks that want to check out some of your work, where can they find that?
On Instagram, I need to get my site back up and running, honestly. On Instagram, you can find me under Spice Cam Visuals. I'm on TikTok as well. You should be able to like go to my link tree and go to all of my stuff. And after this, I'll make sure that it's updated for y'all. But you can find me as Spice Cam Visuals on Instagram. On TikTok, my name is Spice Dad. And I've done some like exhibits. I don't have any exhibits out right now. But I've done exhibits at like Carnegie Hall and stuff. They actually tried to steal my artwork.
Wow.
But wow. That's a whole nother story. That would have to be a whole nother episode. But yeah, you can find me that way. And if you ever want to like do shoots or get a print or something, just DM me, hit me up.
Yo, so do you travel to do shoots?
Yeah. Since I've moved to Greenville, I haven't, but I'm literally this year I am rededicating myself back to my art. So I am definitely going to be doing that, especially because where I live, like Atlanta is right there, Charlotte is right there, Asheville, North Carolina is right there. There's like there's a lot of nature and like beautiful scenery around here. And landscape photography is actually like how I started before I even started taking shots of people and stuff. But yeah, that's how you can find me.
Yo, I love it. I'm looking at them, some of your images. I want to say, for folks who don't know about me, I'm gonna tell you, because I like to say I'm a retired photographer. So first of all, I feel like I'm retired because I've been doing it since I was a kid, right? That was a thing that my mother always nurtured. My mom, she wasn't really encouraging. She just, okay, you want to do that? Okay, here. But she never really was like pushing me to do better. And so I'm a person that I need that kind of, my love language is words of affirmation. And so I never got that. And so I always felt like, oh, I'm not good enough. That was just always in my head of I'm not good enough. So anyway, I used to be a photographer. I just sold all my stuff like maybe 2 or 3 years ago because I was like, I'm gonna pick up another hobby. But I always thought that my photos weren't good enough, right? And so, but what I want to say about your work that stands out to me is it really resonates with me because it's just different everything. It's like a little bit of everything, right? And just like you say, things that are in places that maybe should be. I just love it, like the faces, the colors, the just the lighting, just everything about it. I really, really love it. So for folks that's listening, yo, check it out. Like yes. And so you taking bookings for folks to do photo shoots.
Yeah. And if you're queer or trans, you don't necessarily got to pay me. So we'll figure something out. Don't even worry about that. Cause I love shooting with my people. And especially when I lived in Atlanta, I was paying people to do shoots, even though I had nobody to be doing it. I was paying people to do shoots. So if you ever want to work or, have a nice little trans wedding you want somebody to shoot at, just hit me up.
Yo,
I got you.
I love that. 2026 marks 10 years of Dem Bois Inc. That's 10 years of community care, 10 years of leadership rooted in love, and 10 years of turning visibility into possibility. And so to honor this milestone, we've launched our 10 for 10 campaign. You're like, Sean, 10 for 10, what's that? So we are inviting you, our listeners, our supporters, our allies, and other folks in the community to give $10 a month to help sustain the care, leadership, and visibility that trans men of color deserve. And so 10 years is a very long time, right? That's a decade. Can you imagine raising a child for birth and then looking at them at their 10th birthday party and being like, wow, you've watched so much of their growth within that 10 years, right? That's the same for us. And so Dem Bois Inc., over the 10 years, we have done a lot. And so we have provided gender affirming surgery grants to trans men of color to obtain gender affirming surgeries. We started this podcast. We are now in season 4 of the podcast in 2026. We created our Visibility Equals Possibility merch. We partnered with Emilio and Zion, both trans men of color, to design what visibility equals possibility means to them. And it's reflected in our merch. We also partnered with the Black trans man, Mola Flow, to create our theme song. And that's the music that you hear every time you tune into Dem Bois Podcast. We've done merch. We've done partnering. We have delivered care packages to trans men of color in need of personal hygiene items within our community. We have done a lot in 10 years. And so imagine what the next 10 years will look like. Donating $10 a month says, I believe in this work. I believe in the future of trans men of color, and I believe in what comes next. And so if this call resonates with you, join us today. And we've even made it easy. You don't even got to go anywhere. Whatever platform you're listening to this episode, go ahead and open up the show notes. And from there, you will be able to click the link to start your contribution to our 10 for 10 campaign. Your monthly support helps ensure Dem Bois can continue showing up for our community with intention, care, and impact. So thank you for listening and thank you for believing in our mission. Okay, and I'm going to get out of here so you can listen to this episode. Take care. So I want to ask you, though, how does poetry in motion build confidence through body dysmorphia?
So poetry in motion helps build confidence by illustrating the beauty of transness, especially with my own experiences. And when I talk to other trans people, I feel like a big thing is just always being made to feel like you're not desirable because we are ostracized and we are the outliers like of society, right? We are seen as like the undesirables and like all these things that are not true. Poetry in motion is a reminder of our history, our beauty, our capacity to love and exist as full, beautiful human beings. And yeah, that's another reason why I love photography. It really helped me become confident too, because when I started with photography, I was very self-conscious, and I wanted to make sure I was like good enough before I started taking pictures of other people. So I started taking portrait shots of myself to like get good at doing portraits. And I really like fell in love with it. And it really made me love myself even more because I was just able to and it made me get more comfortable like with my body and just like the different shapes and forms that my body can take. I also believe that me being a photographer like helped me take the leap to start my transition with like tea and stuff like that. Cause I'm just like, I can do all these things like with my body. I can like move, I can do all these things. Like, why am I stopping myself from going on tea? Why am I stopping myself from like doing these things? And also having control over how you are shot. I think that's a big thing for queer and trans people too. When I have worked with people, one of the biggest things that people have like told me was that like one, like I was like the first photographer that they ever like really felt comfortable with, which I just be like looking around at other photographers, I'm like, need to do better because like they're just like, like you're the first person that I feel like confident, comfortable with, but also just like the way that when you take photos that you love or have photos taken of you that you love, the way that you are seen and feel seen is just indescribable, honestly. And I just feel like it's something that every queer and trans person deserves to experience. You deserve to have control over like, because I don't want to use the word perceive because you can't control how other people perceive you, but like controlling what is put out like about you, or like, I don't know if I'm even using the right words for whatever reason, but yeah, like I think I think it gives trans people a kind of agency that we are robbed of. Yeah, for sure. And in that we are able to build confidence, especially when the shots being taken of you are by people from your community, people that see you. That absolutely builds confidence.
With the work, are you able to bridge connections? So through your photography, are you able to build more community, or are you able to help other folks within your photography build different community networks?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a big thing for me. One thing that already like sets me apart from other photographers, you look at my page, it's like all Black people. I think there's now like my latest post, there's a couple of like non-Black people who I absolutely love them. All the people in my latest post that I actually took at the Brown Boy Project, which is a retreat that I recently went on. So shout out to Brown Boy. And if you are a trans person of color, go look up Brown Boy. It's Brown Boy with an I. Go look up the Brown Boy Project. Completely life-changing. But yeah, so when I engage with photographers and like videographers and creatives who aren't trans or queer, they're able to learn like a lot from me, especially with just the importance of like shooting other types of people and having like integrity when you're shooting these other people, and how to make sure that they're comfortable, how to be respectful to their personhood, even if you don't know a lot about. And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, you don't need to know all the terms and the terminology. You don't need to know all of that. The baseline you need is to just be a respectful human being who believes that people deserve to exist as they are. Like that's, and as long as you know that, and use people's pronouns when they tell you like what their pronouns are. As long as you have that, like that is like most of the battle. You don't have to know like all of the jargon and all of these things. So yeah, definitely like when I'm in spaces with like cishet people, I definitely use my positionality. I don't have to do this, but I use my positionality to educate them and to be like, look, I'm a trans and non-binary person. This is shit that you cannot and should not say to other trans people. This is shit that you cannot and should not do with other trans people and stuff like that. Even at my job, there's like a newsletter that we have and stuff. I've talked about like my transness multiple times in the newsletter. I did a Trans Day of Visibility newsletter, Trans Day of Remembrance newsletter. I did another newsletter about like my story and this Puerto Rican trans woman, Miss P, shout out to her, who I grew up her doing my whole family's hair. Like there's so many like ways to just like, and for lack of a better term, spread the gospel of just being a better person and just respecting people. Because as long as you know me, I'm gonna make sure that you come correct to other trans people.
Love it. And that's the message you was trying to tell your mama.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's why she didn't want to hear it, but it's fine.
Hear that shit, right?
Exactly.
So what is next for you? What's next for you, Sonny?
So what's next for me? Of course, my career, like I said, I work in advertising, and I work for an advertising agency right now. So continuing to work and build like in my career, my goal is to become a creative director. So that's what I'm working my way up to with that. Outside of that, working on my community connection here in South Carolina and outside of South Carolina, I have felt so just inspired by people that I've met throughout my life, but especially during Brown Boy, I got the chance to meet just like so many amazing people who are doing such awesome work, like literally all over the country, and things that I was like asking myself about, like different kind of community events that I wanted to coordinate and how do I do this and do that and whatever. I learned all of that from there are so many people there who put me on game. Like everybody there, I learned so much from. So I definitely am going to just continue to build here and really build Spice Cam visuals back up and do like more collaborative kind of things with community organizers here and in the area, like Atlanta, Asheville, Charlotte, especially. I'm also going to be building Optic 35 back up, which is a Black, queer, and trans film collective that I created around like in 2020, 2022, like around there, which that's something that I created like on the back end of my, or in conjunction with my photography company, just to create opportunities for artists to create art, especially like younger queer and trans artists. A lot of people don't have access to certain equipment or certain knowledge or certain teachers and stuff. I learned most of my stuff from like YouTube. Not everybody likes to learn that way and stuff. So, I created Optic 35 to create community programs that give people like those resources and also create fun, cool spaces where artists can meet other artists. And when I lived in Atlanta, we had free photo shoots and stuff like that. So I definitely want to bring that back and start off with doing free headshots and stuff for, the families here, queer, and definitely focusing on in the future. That's definitely what's next to me. And I definitely will be collaborating with more organizations, especially with my family that I met at Brown Boy. Definitely going to be doing a lot of traveling to collaborate with other queer and trans-led organizations.
Beautiful. I love it. Sonny, this is the part of the show where I love to ask my guests a random ass question. I got a list of questions. My list is always growing, right? And so I have 85 questions on the list. I'm not going to ask you all of them. I want you to pick a number between 1 and 85, and I will read you that question.
21, because it's the day I was born.
Yes, 21. What month?
May.
Oh, shit, your birthday coming up.
It is, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
happy early birthday.
I'm actually going to be in San Diego for my birthday on a work trip, but I was like, oh, we're going to be in San Diego though. So
yeah, that's what's up. Where it's nice and sunny in May. Well, it's nice and sunny in San Diego most of the time.
Yeah.
So, number 21. Oh my goodness. So let me tell you about these questions. I just randomly come up with these questions. Sometimes I wake up out of my sleep in the middle of the night and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna put that on my list. Or I may see something out in the world and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna add this to my list. It may or may not have anything to do with what we were talking about. But this particular question, I'm mad you picked that one. Number 21 says, ask me any question and I have to be honest.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that's cold shit, ain't it?
Okay, because you said this at first. What are the top 2 to 3 signs you will stay away from?
Oh my goodness. The first one, Sagittarius. I'm staying the fuck away from a Sagittarius. And I am an Aries, but I realize I don't like dating other Aries. They get on my fucking nerve, and I'm like, oh damn, is that how I am to other people? To other people? I told you earlier, I'm very dramatic. My storytelling, my oral storytelling level is up here to the top, and I will exaggerate. We could be talking about walking to the store to get a pack of bubble gum, and it would be a 30-minute story where all types of things have happened. And I realize I don't like to date people like that. That's just too much. I don't. And I don't know a third one. I can't say a third one. Yeah. Is there a sign that Aries should stay away from?
I heard Tauruses romantically.
Okay.
But I think it really just depends, because I know a Taurus and an Aries, but they're also just like friends. They're like literal besties. So I don't know.
Okay.
That's just what I heard from Aries people.
Okay. Well, maybe it should be. Maybe if it's a Taurus, there's a Taurus person that's done their damn work. How about that?
Yeah.
So, yo, Sonny, thank you so much for being the guest on the show. Is there any last little words that you would like to say before we get up out of here?
Well, I just want to thank you, Sean, for having me. I have loved this, and I am a yapper. So I just have loved this, and I will definitely be doing a super, super mega deep dive. I'm probably just going to be watching your show, just like back to back to back. And I be needing stuff like that. So that's cool. And I want to give a big shout out to Joelle for putting your podcast on to me, like telling me about your podcast, even probably like name dropping me to even like be on here and stuff. Shout out to my brother. Very, very, very dope dude. And just shout out to all the trans people around the world, like regardless of what is going on in this world. And I know every day we wake up, it's some other shit, it's some other attack on us. Fuck them. We are supposed to be here. We have been here since the beginning of time. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise, no matter what these people say. Historically, trans people have been around since the beginning of time. We have been leaders. We have been healers. We have been lovers, fathers, mothers, parents, uncles. We have been everything. We are supposed to be here. You are supposed to be here. You are loved. And even though I don't know you, I love you. And yeah, remember to love yourself because you deserve it.
Yes, Sonny, thank you so much. And the last word, the best thing I heard you say was fuck them.
Exactly. Real airy shit.